Even in the worst case scenario for Boeing, that it is ultimately found to be for blame for this particular set of crashes, will airlines still have to buy Boeing's planes and even this model?
Well, it would be difficult for them to switch to Airbus because Airbus has a backlog that's even farther out than Boeing's. But I think, it's quite likely that they will find a fix to this, and so that it won't be a situation that dire.
So, where's the financial risk the greatest for Boeing?
Yeah, hi, good afternoon, Sarah. I would say it's in really two areas. The first is obviously the lack of deliveries right now, and then therefore the lack of progress payments Boeing's likely going to receive from the airlines. And I estimate that's potentially up to $1 billion a month. And then, of course, there's compensation to the airlines and the leasing companies for disruptions and lost revenues around the fact that you've got 375 of these aircraft that are parked out today as part of the grounding. So, there's two primary areas there I'd point to. Obviously, Boeing's got to pay for the fix and the software and everything else, and you hope it's certainly that straightforward, but there's still obviously risk around that as well.
Kai, if it is just a software upgrade that's required, is that indeed fairly simple to fix? How long could it be fixed in?
Well, to give you an example, the 787 battery fire issue, it took 4 months to cure that, and that was from the date they first found out there was a problem. In this case, Lion Air was last October. So Boeing has been working on a fix. They actually had one ready in January. So my guess, 6 weeks to 3 months, they should be able to have this thing done.
How do you put a time frame on that? Ken, I know you did that too in your notes, 6 to 8 week grounding. How could you know that?
Well, you're right. It's very difficult to predict. If you're under the assumption that the cause of each of these tragic accidents was similar and the MCAS system, then it is a relatively straightforward fix. It certainly looks like right now. Obviously, there's certification that has to happen. There's flight testing. There's a lot of steps involved. Boeing has indicated that the actual downloading of the software, if this is in fact the issue, only takes about an hour or two. So, that's a base case. But you're right. Until we fully know, certainly and you don't even know the exact cause or the final report yet from the Lion Air accident. And then, of course, you've got the Ethiopian accident, the investigation that's just starting. So it could certainly be longer, but that's a fair base case.
Ken, you mentioned compensation or potential compensation to the airlines that are seeing their planes grounded. What about potential compensation to the families of the lives lost?
That's certainly a factor as well. Obviously, that's something I'm sure Boeing has insurance for, and that's being negotiated, I'm sure, right now. So that would certainly be a factor as well. That's difficult for me to predict, but I'm sure that will be in play also.
So bottom line, Kai, if investors come to you and say, is it safe to buy with all of these what-ifs still hanging out there? How do you answer?
I think we're getting close to a point where you definitely can buy. If you take again a look at the 787 battery fire, it took them 4 months to cure the problem. The stock really bottomed on a relative basis 3 weeks after the Boston fire, and then it went sideways for another 4 weeks, and after that it started to outperform. So I don't think you need to have to wait until the grounding is going to be lifted. You have a little risk here on the near term, the delivery delays, but I think people are aware of that. So I think we're approaching a point where it's going to be very attractive again.
But Ken, you've got a hold.
Yeah, I'd take a more cautious approach. I think obviously near term, you've certainly got more risk around certainly these accidents and waiting for that. I mean, relative to the 787 battery issue, you had significant fatalities. You've got more regulatory involvement from China and other regions this time around, which could certainly push the approval process to the right a bit. And I just think, any further risk or perceived risk to the sort of cash flow story around Boeing, which has been, of course, the primary bull thesis on the stock, I just think it justifies waiting and seeing exactly how this plays out before I'd get more excited.